හරිම සුමුදුයි.
Tonight on First at 9 this Friday the 15th of March 2024. Towards the future, President hopeful of an integrated Indian Ocean amid development drive. Highlights the importance of improving connectivity with India.
Trade and the economic relationship between Sri Lanka and India. So connectivity is the main aim.
Don't play politics. Harsha De Silva denies seeking a meeting with the IMF. State Minister of Finance meanwhile says they are ready to organize a multi-party discussion on external debt restructuring. Crime and punishment. Experts hint at a long drawn-out trial for 19-year-old Sri Lankan suspected of mass murder in Canada. Final rights of the victims to be held on Sunday. Breaking shackles. Sri Lanka's chief free trade agreements negotiator claims preferential trade agreements should be a pit stop in the journey towards free trade agreements.
But the BTA will be first step towards FTA and we will move towards the FTA.
Reveals free trade agreement talks with Malaysia in future. Unquenchable. 3,000 families lack adequate drinking water, says the Disaster Management Centre.
We have coordinated the drinking water supply for around 3,000 families.
However, CEB assures uninterrupted power supply amid scarce rains.
ඔබේ විශ්වාසය දෙනු සෙන්සුරයින් දැන් ළඟමැති ෆාමසියෙන් ලබාගත හැක.
This is Derana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to Derana First at 9. I'm Aditya Singh joining you live with the latest in Sri Lanka and around the world. Now in your top story tonight, President Ranil Wickremesinghe stated that connectivity plays a major role in bolstering trade and economic ties between Sri Lanka and neighbouring India. President Wickremesinghe went on to say that the path to economic integration is rooted in joint prosperity of Sri Lanka and India alongside the development of the Indian Ocean. In the meantime, Indian High Commissioner to Sri Lanka, Santosh Jha, stated that India has gained confidence over Sri Lanka's and India's potential to transform into developed nations by 2050.
An event to commemorate the 76th Independence Day of Sri Lanka and the 75th Republic Day of India was organised by the Sri Lanka-India Society in Colombo yesterday. The prestigious event was held under the patronage of President Ranil Wickremesinghe and First Lady Professor Maitri Wickremesinghe.
To me, what is special on the 75th anniversary is now we are putting into effect the vision statement that I signed with Prime Minister Modi. We have always dealt with our cultural affiliations, with our religious affiliations, fact that we are both democracies. What we have forgotten is that trade and the economic relationship between Sri Lanka and India. I think it goes back even beyond the cultural stage. Our ports are well established. Into the villages, they found in parts of the dry zone in Anuradhapura coins issued by some of the South Indian trading organizations. So long before we signed this agreement on Sri Lanka rupee and the Indian rupee, they have been at it using common currency. So now it's a question of how do we consolidate this. So connectivity is the main aim. Transport connectivity, power connectivity. How does Sri Lanka use this regional strategic location for trade so that South India benefits from it? So we are looking at now the development again of Trincomalee as a harbour. The Bay of Bengal itself becomes the strategic value improves. The use of Colombo, how we will have connectivity and how the excess renewable power in Sri Lanka partly can be used in South India. So it is for us, as the Indian Ocean develops, as our countries develop, that we work together. We move towards economic integration. There's no other way. For Indian Ocean is now developing. So this is now becoming a center. The economic and the trade relations must go ahead.
It is hard to miss that overall, our relations today are better than ever before in our history. It is underpinned by unprecedented mutual trust and goodwill, the positive direction that our relations have acquired in the past year following the adoption of the vision document by our leaders at the summit meeting in July 2023 gives us the confidence that even better days are ahead. This new confidence is further buttressed by India's strong economic performance in recent years and strong signs of economic recovery, growth, and reform that we see manifesting in Sri Lanka. There are also other important reasons for this confidence. Our respective urge to transform our nations into a developed one by mid-century, our newfound determination to finally deliver and translate our vast potential into performance, our faith in democratic polity and good governance, and most important, the aspirations of a large youthful populations, which gives us the much-needed drive and energy to forge ahead.
New Dulux Pentolite Hygiene Plus. Refreshing walls for generations.
And now taking you to a story currently at the centre of political discourse, SJB parliamentarian Dr. Harshda De Silva reiterated today that he did not seek a meeting with the visiting IMF team to discuss the progress of Sri Lanka's external fund facility with the IMF. Dr. De Silva went on to say that he requested a meeting with Sri Lanka's creditors to discuss the external debt restructuring process. The SJB parliamentarian's comments were followed by a response from State Minister of Finance Shehan Semasinghe, who revealed that the government is ready to accommodate a meeting with Sri Lanka's creditors as suggested. The State Minister went on to highlight that the opposition has not released the proposed amendments of the IMF agreement, although the opposition claimed to amend the existing IMF agreement on multiple occasions. On Monday, President Ranil Wickremesinghe convened a meeting with leaders of accepted political parties to discuss the proposals put forth by the International Monetary Fund, represented by a high-level delegation currently in Sri Lanka, to complete the second review of the External Fund Facility Agreement with the IMF. According to the President's office, the meeting was organised following a recent request made in Parliament by MP of the Samaga Jana Balawegaya, Dr. Harshda De Silva, prompting the President to extend an invitation to all recognised opposition parties to collaborate with the government in navigating the challenges posed by the IMF program. Even though opposition leader Sajith Premadasa and leader of the National People's Power Anurakumara Dissanayake were invited, they decided to boycott the meeting. The sole representation of the opposition was made by parliamentarian of the Tamil National Alliance's Ilanke Tamil Arasukatchu Party, MP M.A. Sumanthiran. However, SJB MP Dr. Harshda De Silva, who denied that he sought a meeting with the IMF as suggested by the President, said he only called for a meeting with the bondholders to discuss the external debt restructuring process. In response to Dr. De Silva's statement, State Minister of Finance Shehan Semasinghe noted that the government is ready to accommodate the request made by the SJB parliamentarian and discuss the progress of negotiations with Sri Lanka's creditors and the IMF program. In X message, the Finance State Minister added that the government is ready to provide any additional information requested. However, the State Minister went on to say that they are unable to disclose any market-sensitive information. Shehan Semasinghe stated that although the opposition deliberately missed out on the discussion facilitated in good faith on alternative proposals including debt restructuring, the government is once again ready to facilitate another opportunity and urge the opposition to act in good faith as well. Further maintaining his stance on the matter, Dr. Harshda De Silva reiterated today that he never requested a meeting with the IMF. He also urged all stakeholders involved to not play politics with Sri Lanka's economy. Meanwhile, in another X message, the State Minister of Finance also noted that although opposition political parties opposed the International Monetary Fund's program and announced that they would amend the IMF agreement after securing power, no indications have been made on the specific amendments proposed so far. He added that a clear statement of the proposed amendments could create a debate about its success or failure, practicality and credibility. The only suspect of the recent mass murder of 6 Sri Lankans in Canada, Fabio De Souza, made his second court appearance yesterday. He joined court proceedings over the phone while Canadian media reported that the hearing of the case was limited to less than 4 minutes. Meanwhile, the final rites of the murdered 5 members of the Wickremesinghe family will be held this Sunday.
6 Sri Lankans, 5 from the same family, were brutally murdered at their residence in Ottawa, Canada last week. Dhanushka Fernando, the father of the family and the only survivor of the attack, was admitted to hospital after sustaining severe injuries. The unfortunate incident reportedly took place after 19-year-old Sri Lankan Fabio De Souza, who is a student residing at the house of the victims, allegedly murdered the 6 individuals with a knife-like weapon. 19-year-old Fabio is charged with 6 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of attempted murder. February made his second court appearance yesterday. During yesterday's appearance before Justice of Peace Karen Baum, the prosecution entered new information to correct the spellings of some of the victims' names that had been entered during Rizoisa's first court appearance last week. The charges, however, remained unchanged. The 19-year-old Sri Lankan joined court proceedings over the phone yesterday. February's lawyer Evan Lytle, after registering the client's language of choice as English, requested an adjournment until the 28th of March. According to Canadian media, the entire matter has taken less than 4 minutes. Speaking to reporters outside the courthouse, Lytle did not comment when asked if his client might use mental health as a defense or if he understood what had happened.
He's in protective custody. He's doing okay. I've met him over video and in person. Yes.
And do you have from that meeting any sense of what may happen?
I can't comment on that. I'm so sorry. I have been in touch with his family.
How are they?
They're obviously very upset.
However, Canadian legal experts urged an evaluation of the suspect's mental state.
By the nature of the case, it seems to me that we're going to be looking at some pretty significant psychiatric evaluations, and that's where the complexity is going to lie. It's going to take months and months before we even get to the point where we're moving into a trial situation.
According to criminal law experts, the suspect is facing a lengthy legal battle. Experts said the case could take 2 to 3 years to work its way through the court system. In the meantime, the final rites of the brutally murdered Wickramasinghe family will be held this Sunday. The deceased family members are 35-year-old mother Darshani Dilantika Ekanayaka, 7-year-old Inuka Wickramasinghe, 4-year-old Ashwini Wickramasinghe, 2-year-old Rinyana Wickramasinghe, and 2-month-old baby Kelly Wickramasinghe. Dhanushka Wickramasinghe, the father of the Wickramasinghe family, is said to be discharged from the hospital today following treatment. The motive behind these gruesome murders still remains to be established.
Sri Lanka's chief negotiator for free trade agreements, K.J. Veerasinghe, is of the view that the preferential trade arrangement to be signed with Bangladesh should be the first step in a journey towards a full-fledged free trade agreement. Addressing a panel discussion themed Bangladesh-Sri Lanka investment opportunities and the benefits of proposed preferential trade agreements, Veerasinghe said that the PTA talks with the Bangladesh delegation will commence on the 9th of May upon their arrival in Colombo. Speaking further, Veerasinghe also revealed that Sri Lanka will soon commence talks with Malaysia to secure a free trade agreement.
As you know, the overall strategy of the government is to increase market access for Sri Lanka products, market diversification, and the export basket to be increased and all that, and attract investment. We are negotiating FTA with China, and we have already indicated our intention to negotiate FTA with Malaysia. I'm already in communication with the chief negotiator of Malaysia to commence negotiations of Malaysia. So with Bangladesh, in my personal view, PTA is not the ideal arrangement that we should have, because that does not help to realize the potential between the two countries. My expectation is these PTAs that we are negotiating and which we want to conclude as early as possible will be first step towards the FTA. Probably we have agreed 9th of May the Bangladesh delegation will come to Sri Lanka and we will start our negotiation with the PTA. But then the PTA will be first step towards FTA and we will move towards the FTA. Now in the PTA we are looking at about 35% value addition should be made in Sri Lanka to qualify under the PTA, preference studying the item to go to Bangladesh.
Now taking you to the latest on weather. Dry weather conditions have dwindled Sri Lanka's water reserves, leading to a shortage of drinking water to people within affected areas. According to the Disaster Management Centre, steps are being taken to solve the drinking water issues affecting over 3,000 families. The National Water Supply and Drainage Board requested the public to limit the usage of water to essential activities. Meanwhile, the Ceylon Electricity Board Engineers Union revealed that the water levels in reservoirs have reduced to about 70%. However, it assured that power supply will be provided uninterrupted. At the moment, several provinces of the island have been overpowered by dry weather and scorching temperatures. According to the Department of Meteorology, the northern, north central, eastern and northwestern provinces and the Colombo, Gampa and Hambantota districts are bearing the brunt of the extremely dry conditions. During the past 24-hour cycle, the highest temperature was reported from Kurunegala, which was at 36.6 degrees Celsius. At the same time, a temperature of 35 degrees Celsius was reported from the Anuradhapura district, 34 degrees Celsius from Mana and Jaffna district, districts, while 33 degrees Celsius was reported from Trincomalee and Kandy districts during the daytime. As the hot weather dries up key sources of water within the affected areas, several communities are currently facing a lack of drinking water.
There are drinking water issues in some areas, but these things been identified by the Disaster Management Center, and we have taken precautions for supplying all the drinking water supplements, especially in some areas of Kampa and also in Kegol district and some areas of Kurnagal as well. Our report says around with the NDRS, National Disaster Relief Services Center, we have coordinated the drinking water supply for around 3,000 families, but numbers are changing. With that, if there are any requirement of the disaster management support, people can access via 117 call center.
The National Water Supply and Drainage Board meanwhile stated that the water supply from 15 systems have already been affected by the dry weather.
The increase in salinity levels in the Kalin River due to drop in water levels affected the water treatment plants in Abathale and Biagama. However, we are in the process of trying to reactivate them. We established a temporary salinity barrier, and as a result, there is an uninterrupted water supply.
Taking the situation into account, the National Water Supply and Drainage Board urged the public to use water sparingly.
We request members of the public in low-lying areas to limit their water usage to essential needs. For those who reside in high catchment areas, please inform our 24-hour hotline number 1939 if there's a low-pressure situation.
Meanwhile, the Ceylon Electricity Board Engineers Union revealed that the water level of reservoirs have been reduced to about 70%.
Hydroelectricity generation these days is at 23%. The water level in the reservoirs has been reduced to about 70%. We can use them until it reduces to 20%. By that time, the next rainfall season will begin. There's no problem in providing uninterrupted power so far.
Minister of Foreign Affairs Ali Sabri requested the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs of Thailand for assistance to facilitate the early repatriation of rescued Sri Lankan nationals currently in Mayawadi, Myanmar. The Thai Foreign Minister has reportedly agreed to facilitate the repatriation of the rescued Sri Lankans via Thailand. The 8 Sri Lankans who are currently under the Myanmar government's protection in Mayawadi have been provided with required assistance, including meals and basic necessities, with the facilitation of the Embassy of Sri Lanka in Yangon. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs disclosed that Sri Lankan embassies in Yangon and Bangkok are working together closely to ensure the safe and early repatriation of the Sri Lankan nationals. In the meantime, referring to the Thai Prime Minister's successful visit to Sri Lanka, which took place in February this year, the two ministers agreed to work on early implementation of the Sri Lanka-Thailand Free Trade Agreement and reciprocal visa-free arrangement between the two countries. And now in your political developments, State Minister of Foreign Affairs Thalaka Barasuriya confirmed that he will support President Ranil Wickremesinghe in the upcoming elections. Meanwhile, former Samaki Jana Balawege MP Mujibur Rahman, who reaffirmed that his party is ready to work with the IMF, however, said that all conditions proposed by the global lender will not be implemented. With that, let's have a look at some of the remarks made in the political arena today. President Ranil Wickremesinghe said he would facilitate a meeting between the political parties and the IMF. Our party members met with the IMF delegation yesterday and inquired if they attended the meeting. The IMF representatives were uninformed about such a discussion. At a time when the economy of the country has collapsed, these leaders are trying to gain political mileage. It is evident that these leaders will never learn a lesson.
The
JVP is inquiring about matters that are irrelevant to the IMF. They discuss irrelevant matters with the IMF without prior understanding of the subject matter, and after the meeting they say things that are totally different. The JVP has no idea about the IMF and the World Bank.
The program of the JVP is anti-IMF and they believe in a socialist economic model. Such people have no understanding on what's happening. We have no problem because we have expressed our readiness in working with the IMF. At the same time, we are affirm that we are not ready to implement each and every condition of the IMF.
නමුත් IMF එක කියන හැම දෙයක්ම කරගහන්න කරන්න අපි ලෑස්ති නැහැ කියන එකත් අපි කියලා තියෙනවා.
අපිම පාර්ලිමේන්තුව තුලින් තෝරපත් කරගත්තු ජනාධිපති
Even though the president was appointed by our party and although our party members make up the cabinet, we are disappointed about the little attention given by the government to the local economy. We are under the belief that the government should look into the betterment of the people rather than imposing each and every condition of the IMF.
උපසිද්ධිය පිළිබඳවත් ආණ්ඩුවේ අවධානය යොමු වෙන්න ඕන කියලා අපි විශ්වාස කරනවා.
රටේ පැත්තෙන් බලනවා නම් අපිට
From a country's perspective, we believe that it is essential to work with this president. It is not practical to even think about whether I'm going to vote for him or not after working with him as a minister in this government. As a minister representing this government, I pledge my support and I believe that most of the SLPP parliamentarians are on the same page.
බෞද්ධරයක් ශ්‍රී ලංකා පොදු ජන පෙරමුණේ මන්ත්‍රීවරු ඉන්නේ ඒ ස්ථාවරයේ කියන.
Welcome back. Now in other local news, an individual involved in the distribution of narcotics in the Vattal area was apprehended while in possession of 2.5 million rupees worth of crystal methamphetamine by the Valana Anti-Corruption Unit. Meanwhile, police found the remains of a 27-year-old female inside a rental room in the Siduva area. With that, let's take a look at more news across the island in brief.
Earlier today, an individual in possession of 117 grams of crystal methamphetamine was arrested by the Valana Anti-Corruption Unit. Upon further investigation, approximately 1.2 million rupees worth of cash was also discovered. The suspect was reportedly involved in the distribution of the drug in Valana. In the meantime, the body of a woman aged 27 was discovered inside a rental room in Sidua. The police suspect that the murder was committed by a 22-year-old male who allegedly confessed his crime to an associate. The victim was reported to be the mother of 2 children. Meanwhile, a foreign traveller was killed after being set upon by an elephant in Potterville. The victim was reported to be a 50-year-old Italian national.
Now, President Ranil Wickremesinghe announced that an expert committee would be appointed to investigate and propose solutions for the prevailing economic challenges, particularly within the construction sector. This declaration was made during a discussion held at the Presidential Secretariat, attended by industrialists from the construction sector. President Wickremesinghe emphasized the inclusion of experts from the Minister of Finance, the Minister of Urban Development and Housing in the committee formation process. Furthermore, he assured relief for industrialists across various sectors through debt restructuring from the following year. The discussion also delved into issues faced by the contractors of all scales and parties within the construction field, including the revival of stalled projects, the establishment of an investment-friendly environment, the promotion of construction services, and alternative funding and contracts. Counselling matters were extensively addressed during the session. Senior Advisor to the President on National Security and Chief of Staff Sagala Ratnayaka, Governor of the Central Bank Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe, Secretary to the Minister of Finance Mahinda Sirivardhana, along with other Minister Secretaries and representatives from related institutions and the construction industry participated in the discussion. In another meeting held at the Presidential Secretariat on the same day, President Wickremesinghe discussed matters pertaining to the coconut industry with industrialists involved in related products. He emphasized the necessity of enhancing the contribution of coconut production to the national economy, promoting coconut cultivation and associated industries for competitive exports. The establishment of the National Chamber of Coconut Industry Sri Lanka was also addressed with a thorough examination of the issues confronting the coconut industry and concerns raised by industry stakeholders. President Wickremesinghe underscored the importance of coordinated efforts to maximize productivity in the coconut industry, utilizing available land efficiently. Now in other business news, Sri Lankan shares extended their run of gains for a 10th consecutive day, aided by gains in financial and communications services stocks. The all-share price index rose 0.17% to settle at 11,336.71 points, gaining for the 7th consecutive week. High net worth and institutional investor participation was noted in the Richard Peary's and Company, Distilleries and Union Chemical Lanka, while mixed interest was observed in Haley's Fabric, Lanka IOC and Hemas Holdings. However, trading volume on the index fell to 76.2 million shares from 86.4 million shares in the previous session. The S&P Sri Lanka 20 meanwhile rose to 0.46% to close at 3,245.24 points. During the week, the All Share and S&P Sri Lanka 20 index gained 2.6% and 3.1% respectively, while recording an average daily turnover of 1.77 billion rupees. Market turnover for the day stood at 1.62 billion rupees, falling from 1.92 billion rupees in the previous session. Foreign participation in the market remained at subdued levels, with foreign investors closing as net sellers. Now let's take a look at the rupee exchange rates during the day. Now in your international business news, oil prices edged lower today but were on track to gain over 3% for the week as the International Energy Agency's revised oil demand forecast and an unexpected decline in US crude inventories boosted prices. Brent crude futures settled 0.6% lower at $84.83 a barrel after surpassing the $85 mark yesterday for the first time since November last year. In the meantime, US West Texas Intermediate crude futures were down 0.6% to $80.70 a barrel. Prices remained between $80 and $84 a barrel for much last month before the IEA raised its prediction on oil demand growth for the fourth time since last November. Its latest report placed the figure at 1.3 million barrels per day, an increase from 111,000 barrels per day compared to last month. This week's gains came despite the US dollar strengthening at its fastest pace in 2 months. Now let's take a look at today's corporate news segment.
Unilever Sri Lanka and the Industrial Development Board signed a 3-year memorandum of understanding to uplift SMEs in Sri Lanka. This public-private partnership between Unilever and the IDB aims to jointly support the growth and development of 20 micro, small and medium-scale entrepreneurs in Sri Lanka every year through the Industrial Development Fund. As such, the first batch of loans were handed over to 10 female micro-entrepreneurs on International Women's Day on the 12th of March 2024. NDB Bank announced its collaboration with the Havelock City Mall as the official banking partner for the Aurudu season 2024. Customers will be facilitated to revel in the festive spirit at the mall with NDB, curating exclusive card offers and exciting activities for all from the 14th to the 21st of April 2024. During the special season with Aurudu Vasi Vahe card offers from NDB, cardholders can indulge in a plethora of exclusive deals and discounts from various merchants within Havelock City Mall. The Asuri Academy of Health Sciences, as the education arm of leading healthcare provider Asuri Health, has signed a landmark memorandum of understanding recently with MI College Maldives, a reputed education institute empowering the younger generation. This partnership is expected to facilitate training for Maldivian healthcare professionals and students in areas such as nursing and medical technology, with an aim to support the healthcare sector in the Maldives and promote international career advancement.
And with that, we wrap up tonight's news. Thank you. Have a great night.